Even with rich JavaScript frameworks, it sometimes pays off to do templating on the server side. Common use cases include you want to compose a screen of various elements. Perhaps you have a common footer or a common header and you want that on every page. You don't want to have to repeat that all throughout your HTML. Some other examples are you might want to reuse snippets of code. You might have little widgets that you want to reuse, things that are common, maybe like social media tags, those kind of things. Another use case is it gives you a common way to do URL rewriting, which is something we'll cover a bit later in this lesson. The good news is with Spring Boot, there's plenty of choices. You can have Groovy templates, Thymeleaf, handlebars, FreeMarker, Velocity and JSP out the box, and it's also pretty easy to add your own. So if you find some templating technology that you want to use and it's got a Java library available, chances are it's going to be pretty easy to plug into Spring Boot. Let's have a quick look at a demonstration where we'll use the Thymeleaf templating language. So here I've got an application. It's pretty much the same one as we've seen previously, except I've got two things that are different. I've got extending the Web MVC configurer adapter instead of just being a standard class. And this is just a way of telling Spring MVC that you want to plug in some extra things. In this case, I'm adding a mapping between the root view controller, the /1, and a template that's named index. The other difference is in the POM file. So if I look at my XML, as well as having the web starter, which we had previously, I've now also got a Thymeleaf starter. Thymeleaf is a nice templating language. It looks a lot like HTML, and in fact you can use it outside of your application, so you don't need a running application to see what your templates look like. It's called a natural templating language. If we jump into the source main resources, you'll see I've got a couple of things here. I've got a CSS file, and I've got an image, and then I've got two items in my templating folder. The index.html is the one that we map to, and layout is something we're going to use in a second. So let's start with this one. You can see it's a straight HTML document with nothing too extra going on, except I've got an additional namespace declared here, but I'm not yet using it. Let's start this app. If I flip back to the web browser, you can see I've just got some kind of text with a title and a whole bunch of just nonsense. So if I want to take this template and then actually do something useful with it, what I can do is tell Thymeleaf that I want to make this page a decorator. So all I need to do is add the layout namespace and then give it the decorator prefix, and then give it the name of the file that I want to use as the decorating elements. So in this case I'm going to use layout. If we look at the layout file, you can see how that's going to work. Layout just declares the kind of standard elements and gives us placeholders for things. So I'm going to declare a container that's going to have a banner in it, which is going to be the image that we saw earlier, and then a couple of fragments that are back in the main page to let them control what content goes in. So here we've got a header, which is just going to be an H1, and some content, which is just going to be anything. And then we put a footer on the bottom as well. There's two more things we need to do in our main page. We need to set these sections to say which one works where. So I want the H1 title here to be the header. So I'm going to use layout fragment this time, and then I just say header. And then for the main div section, I'm going to use the same markup, but in this time I'm going to say content. So I don't actually need to restart the application here because Thymeleaf's clever enough to know when things have changed. As long as you've got this setting in your application.properties, spring.thymeleaf.cache equals false, I can just refresh the browser. So if I do that, you can see that the markup's been applied. This time we've got the image, the header is in the header section, and the text is between these two horizontal lines, and we've got the footer. So this makes it really easy to kind of make a global change. For instance, if I wanted to add something in front of each header, it's really easy to do. So it gives you an idea of how you can create a uniform view for your web application.